Marie Carroll was a mom. She was a mom in every sense of the word. She'd even lost her name somewhere along the way. Shane, her husband, had stopped calling her Marie at some point. She couldn't even remember when. And he too referred to her as Mom, though he rarely spoke to her directly anymore. Rarely made eye contact. Most conversations went something like, "Hey Mom, what's for dinner?" as he and the kids clambered to the table. Or, "So what does Mom say we're doing this weekend?" She'd lost her own identity, she often thought. She'd met Shane when they were in high school. He was on the football team. She was a cheerleader. She was pretty and funny and smart. Then she'd gone on to college. She wanted to be a doctor. They'd started their family while she was in school, and Shane wanted her to stay home. Of course, she agreed. She'd grown up with her own mother at home, and her grandmother had stayed home, and she guessed that that was what she was supposed to do. She'd pick school back up when her children were grown, she told herself, but she never really believed that. She knew that she'd do exactly what her mother had done, and that was move on to full-time grandmother/babysitter. Still, no name. After she'd kissed her husband goodbye before he went to work, she then drove her kids to school. 2 children, Matt and Amy. And because it was October and very near Halloween, she went home to finish sewing the costumes. She always hand-sewed their costumes and kept them upstairs in the attic for mementos. Matt would be a lion this year, and, as most years, Amy would be some type of princess. It took days to make them just right. She had many needle-poked fingers over the years. Matt adored animals, and he wanted to be a veterinarian when he grew up. Amy loved princesses and dresses and anything pretty. She wanted to grow up to be a fashion designer and marry a prince. Of course, Marie told them that they could be anything they wanted, but she knew that Amy would never be a princess, unless it was a story where the princess is stuck in the dungeon cooking and cleaning for the prince and 1 or 2 offspring. Halloween came, and usually it was Marie who took the kids trick-or-treating, but this year, Marie said that she wanted to stay home and pass out the candy. She expected that Shane would refuse to go with the kids, but lucky for Marie, 2 of Shane's buddies had been given trick-or-treat duty as well, so they put on their camo, black under their eyes, baseball caps, the ones that hold 2 beers on either side and has straws that come down into your mouth. And then the gang set off. Before they left, though, Marie told her kids that they had to get candy from their house, too. "Say trick-or-treat," she said, after the obligatory pictures had been snapped. And they did. She dropped 3 pieces into their bags. "Extra," she told them. "Shh, don't tell Daddy," she joked. That night, they came home, and as parents do, Marie went through the candy to make sure it wasn't poisoned or whatever parents think they're looking for. Shane walked by the bowl that was sitting in front of the table by the front door and snatched a few pieces out as he was headed downstairs to watch football. He just grunted as he walked by. Marie gave the kids 3 pieces each, too. Told them after they ate them that they should get ready for bed. She went downstairs and told Shane that she needed milk and that she'd be running to the store. He barely nodded his head. His 3 pieces of candy still on the table next to his recliner, he snapped open a beer, and she walked out the door. When she came home 2 hours later, she found the house to be dead silent. A thrill went through her heart. She went downstairs, and sure enough, the 3 pieces of candy next to Shane had been unwrapped and eaten. He was laying back in his recliner, blood dripping from his mouth. She felt for a pulse, Nothing. She went upstairs to check on the children, and they, too, had eaten their candy. No pulse could be found. She felt giddy inside. She went to her sewing room and took her needles out to the neighbor's trash bin and then called the police, frantically, of course. Apparently, several children and adults had been killed or injured that night. Some fiend had broken up needles and put them into candy bars. After an appropriate amount of time spent grieving, Marie went back to school, where everyone called her by her name.